Okay. Yeah, here we go. So, good evening. So, sorry, a couple of minutes late. We just have to get a couple of things ready behind the scenes. Let me know. Say hi if you're here. You can add little comments in the chat box. So on my computer screen, it's on the right side. I don't know if it's the same for you or if it's underneath the actual video screen. Let me know. Oh yeah, here it says 3 people are watching. Hey Helen, good evening. Yeah, very good. Deborah from New York. Oh good, this seems to work. Yeah, very good. Very good. So we'll talk about the Canter again, developing the Canter. We did this earlier today and yesterday. So we have 4 people watching. Very good. So wait another minute to give people a chance to come on. And then I will turn on the recording on Zoom, just in case. And yeah, so we wanted to talk a little bit about developing the canter, getting the horse to the point where he is able to canter in good balance, and give you an overview of the training progression to that point. So we have a...
Can you wait a minute?
Yes.
Start, because I don't have anyone on yet.
Oh, okay.
I can't get the email out. I'm having trouble.
Okay, Shanna's trying to send an email to notify everybody. And
because the webinar software won't work.
Yeah.
And I'm having trouble with.
Yeah, tech has been really horrible this week. And yeah, we had planned to do this as a webinar, but my MacBook does not allow the GoToWebinar software access to the camera, and I can't figure out how to do it. I checked online, and this and it's a known problem. A lot of people have it apparently, that MacBooks don't allow lots of these, also Zoom and GoToWebinar and other apps, access to the microphone or the camera. You know, you're supposed to be able to add it, you know, in the securities and privacy settings, and it doesn't show up there. It doesn't for the microphone, yes. For the camera, no. And it doesn't have the little plus symbol where you're supposed to be able to add apps. So, and I don't know why it's like that, and horrible. So now Shanna is trying to send an email to people who had signed up to so they know that we're on YouTube instead of GoToWebinar. But
ask them the homework questions.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, Shanna had thought of these two questions, like what does a good canter feel like to you, and why? Yeah, why do you want to work on the canter or develop a canter, and so on? In what way is that relevant for your riding, for your training? You could type that in the chat boxes. Would be interesting to hear, you know, what your answers are. So yeah, so let me know. Yeah. So how would you describe a good canter? What does it feel like? What does it look like? And you know, what's the relevance, so to speak, of the canter work to you in developing a good canter? So that would be interesting. So yeah, if you could type that in here, and then it's interesting for us to see what people think. Yeah, then in a minute I'll share our keynote, and I'll talk about the roadmap to a better canter. So Shanna's still wrestling with the email.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like this weekend is like horrible. I don't know why.
This is absurd.
Yeah, so Shauna Killed Kenny says a good canter should feel soft and regular. Yeah. And yeah, why is it important to you to develop a good canter? Deborah V says good canter feels like clear 3 beats straight with a nice jump, sternum coming up. Yeah. Yeah, the uphill part is important, right? For movements. If the horse canters into the ground, you won't be able to do movements. And if the canter is uphill and round, then you can do pirouettes and flying changes and half passes and so on. Yeah. And Elaine Hildreth says, hi from Texas. For me, a good canter is soft, but has the same amount of lift in every stride, not a big lift off and then a flat canter as you go along. That's true. Yeah, that's true. The quality of the canter should be maintained, you know. And that's it's a strength issue in a way, right? For to canter well, the horse needs a fair amount of strength in the hindquarters and the belly muscles, especially to be able to maintain the regular 3-beat bouncy, you know, uphill canter for a longer period of time. Yeah. Helen DC says good 3-beat rhythm, soft and uphill, power from behind. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good. Yeah, good answers. And Shauna Kilkenny says, because currently my young horse is still very fast and unbalanced on the left hand, though it feels already quite good, like sitting on a throne. But on the right, few racing horse. Yeah, it happens, right? That the canter on the one lead is a lot better than the canter on the other lead. And especially with young horses or when you have retraining horses. And over time, the two canters should become more and more similar, so that you can do the same things in the left lead canter that you can do in the right lead canter, or that you can make your turns equally small in both directions. And that's a crookedness issue. And so the one side is a little bit stronger, more balanced, and the other side is a little weaker, you know, or less balanced. Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, so Shanna, can I start?
You know what, people are, the email is about to send out.
Okay.
You
So
just
so
ask them to talk about what it would mean to them.
Yeah. So yeah, Shanna wants to know what it would mean to you if you were able to improve the horse's canter. She needs a couple more minutes to send out that email,
No,
I guess.
I've sent it.
Or she sent it, but yeah.
Working on the set.
Okay.
Or not Gmail, but active campaign.
So okay. Yeah. Frau Jürgensen, hey, he says, there we are. Sorry, the webinar link not working for lots of, well, it's webinar link is not working for anybody, not even for me, because before you came on, I was explaining that my MacBook does not allow GoToWebinar access to the camera, and there is no way to give access, because there, you click on security normally, and then it shows you a list of apps, and then you can, when you go to the camera, register, and then you are supposed to be able to click on an app and grant it access to the camera, and that GoToWebinar app just doesn't appear on my laptop, and then there is no plus button that's supposed to be there. So I have no way of adding it. And it's apparently a common issue. I've searched online. A lot of people are pulling their hair out over that, and haven't been able to find an answer for my computer how to get access to the camera. So that's why we're doing it on YouTube, and Shanna just sent out the email.
Yes, I'm replying to everybody.
Yeah, so it took a while. I don't know, the email didn't want to send at first, and it's like so yeah. So then Helen DC here says, training in canter helps build core strength and develop connection if done correctly, lightens the forehand. Yes. Super said, yeah, but when our link didn't work, I had to go searching. Yeah, exactly. We I explained that my laptop doesn't give camera access to GoToWebinar, so I couldn't do it, and I haven't been able to figure out how to fix that. Even though search online, I've been trying for quite a while, and it's a known problem, and it probably has to do with the Mac operating system somehow. So a lot of people have issues with a variety of apps, even Zoom app too. Some people can't access the microphone or the video in the camera in Zoom or Skype and other things. And yeah, here it's GoToWebinar. It just doesn't show up. Sorry. And Elaine Hildreth says, for me, an improved Canter would mean that I could move out of second level, aka the adult amateur graveyard. That's a funny term. And I could hopefully bring my mares along to happily help me chase my dreams. Yeah, that's exactly, that's a good point, right? Lena Field says, I'm finally here from Vancouver Island, BC, Canada. Sorry, you're so frustrated. Yeah, this weekend has been bad tech-wise. I mean, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I don't know what's wrong. Something in the stars. Maybe it's this Saturn-Jupiter thing. They're too close to each other. So they're messing with tech or something. Yeah, Frauke says, for me, similar to Elaine, the past year we've come a long way, but we have to sort out the canter, which is mainly my problem because my mare had a lovely canter when I got her. Oh, interesting. Which is actually good news in a way, because if the horse used to have a good canter, you can get it back. You know, if the horse never had a good canter, then it's a lot more work. Right? But if the basic natural canter is good, then you can get it back. You can bring it out and develop it again. And Jennifer Morris says, I'm hearing a good improved canter would be a nice change from no canter. That's very true. Yeah, and Lisa Gale says, overexcitement and changes, need to train tempo changes, keeping quality canter. Yeah, that's true. As you're working on flying changes and then moving from the single flying changes to the tempo changes, the quality of the canter becomes more and more a focus, because the horse will only be able to do tempo changes when the quality is high of the canter and when it's consistent. In other words, if you're doing a flying change and the horse starts rotating in the change and lands crooked, then you won't be ready for the next change, or at least not within a couple of strides, right? Or if the horse does a clean change but falls on the forehand, which are all normal things that can happen as you're training, for tempo changes, that the horse somehow, loses something in the change itself sometimes, lands crooked or falls on the forehand, and then it takes a little while to get him straight and uphill and so on, so he's ready for the next change. And when you do tempo changes, the horse has to land ready for the next change after the flying change is before the flying change, right? And that is always a period of time in the training where then you have to really polish that high quality canter, approaching the flying change, during the change, after the change, and so on, and that's that's key to clean tempo changes, 4s, 3s, 2, 1s. So yeah. And Jane Impey says, my left canter is easy, but right canter is hard to get and to feel for me, but by far the better canter. It's me and straightness issues. Is desperate to move a canter on. Yeah. It's true, right? When you don't have a good canter, you're kind of stuck at the lower levels, right? Paula Dawkins says, hi from Sweden, feel like a detective, glad I found you. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's I explained already, my laptop doesn't allow GoToWebinar to access the camera.
Yeah, and the software just won't work with it.
It's a software, probably operating system issue. It's known, a lot of people have that issue with MacBooks, and online, different people have found different solutions, but none of them worked for me. It always.
Yeah, I had to try to get a refund from the software.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's.
Those supposed to make everything better.
I know. So yeah, but anyway. Yeah, so the canter, if you just trying to think like the requirements in the canter. Again, if you think of the US system, at training level, you just have to do a working canter and do some very simple patterns, right? At first level, you have to do simple changes through the trot, and I think there's a lengthening in first level at the US, right? And that's it, right? In second level, you have to do the simple changes through the walk, and you have to do a medium canter, I think. and counter canter. So that's already a bit of a leap, right, from first to second. But then in the at third level, you have to do flying changes, right? And so that's often the big hurdle for people to move from second to third level, right? And in Germany, it's slightly different. There you have to do the simple changes through the walk at first level, the equivalent of first level and medium canter. And then at second level, you add counter canter and collected canter. You know, and then at third level, the flying change and some half passes. You know, so yeah. So, and if the canter doesn't have a certain quality, then the horse won't be able to, you know, lengthen and shorten the strides, or he won't be able to do the simple changes, or he won't be able to do the counter canter in good balance without, you know, careening around the corners, or he won't be able to do the half pass and flying change and so on. So that's why, yeah, in order to progress with the training, yeah, we need to have a fairly decent canter, right? Yeah. Oh, Paula Dawkins says, I have a Mac as well, hopeless. So maybe you've had the same issues with some programs, right? And Helen says, improved canter would help stop the racehorse drop and go, which kicks in if I take my eye off the ball. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you have a thoroughbred off the racetrack, then they have learned a different type of canter, right? For them, in their mind, canter is go as fast as possible, right? And dressage is very different from them. So, yeah. And yeah, so Jennifer Morris says, we've achieved the first part of the masterclass, find the instructors. Yeah, sorry that it's been an odyssey. Right? Yeah, Amber Johnson said, I'm so glad I was able to find this. It was so tough to find this webinar. Hello from Washington State. Yeah. Yeah, again, my MacBook doesn't allow camera access to the webinar software. That's why, and I tried it. It's apparently a common problem. A lot of people experience that. And
it's not just you.
So it's not just
for
me.
Once,
yeah, for once. I know. It's not just that I'm inept with computers, but I mean that too, but it's not the only reason, right? But yeah, so it's a known issue, and I have not been able to make it work. So unfortunately, so that's why we had to move to YouTube. Yeah, everybody had recommended this GoToWebinar software and thought that would make everything a lot better, but only if it works, and it didn't. So yeah. SABF here says, I would like mine to be balanced and relaxed in the canter, so it's pleasant for both of us. LOL. Yeah, good. That's a good point. I want the canter to be pleasant for both of us too, right? So, and yeah, Frauke Jurgensen says, in the UK, simple change through walk is introduced at elementary, but counter canter already at novice in the harder novice tests. Wow. Counter canter, that's yeah, counter canter is not so easy, depending on what line you're riding, right? But if you have to negotiate any turns in the counter canter, then yeah, it requires quite a bit of balance, right? And the simple change through the walk is a challenging exercise too. So I think in Germany they introduce it a little too early, and in the US I think it's better to wait to second level, and in the US, they introduced some lateral movements already at second level. Yeah, and in Germany, traditionally, the lateral movements started at third level. You know, everything happened at once at third level, flying changes, you know, shoulder in, haunches in, half pass, and so on. That was a lot. So big step up from second to third, then, or Klasse L to Klasse M. Yeah. And Laurie Smith says, my gelding thinks canter goes fast too. We have to work hard to get the soft, nice canters. They happen, but so much work. Yeah. Sometimes it's a psychological thing, right? If the horse thinks that canter needs to be fast, then you have to change their thinking around the canter, right? And sometimes it's the same with people too. Some people have only ever experienced horses that were rushing and on the forehand, and so they kind of think that's the way the canter is, right? And then they make that canter happen by pushing with the seat somehow, or pushing the horse down onto the forehand. And in order to give the horse a chance to canter in better balance uphill, they actually need to change the way they're sitting and the way they're riding, you know. And so sometimes it's a mental problem in the horse and sometimes in the rider, that one of the two or both have the wrong mental image of what the canter is like or should be like. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, then Annika Riedel says, improving are currently rather flat and tending to a 4-beat canter would be awesome. Yeah, so more jump, right? So it's 3-beat. And then Niam O'Connor says, my gelding can go quite nicely anti-clockwise, but clockwise is very unbalanced and rushes around. Would love help with this. Yeah, that's a straightness issue. So we had, several people were saying that the horse can canter pretty decently in one direction and in the other direction, not so much, right? And so that's a balance and straightness issue, and over time, the two sides of the horse become more even in terms of strength and body awareness and suppleness and so on, and then the two canters will become more similar. Yeah. And Cindy Burkhardt says, we can canter on the lunge line, finally relatively stable and under saddle outside in the woods when it's uphill, but it seems very far away to canter in the arena. 6-year-old riding pony, well, 6 years old, the horse is still fairly young. And but it's good that the horse can canter, in good balance on the lunge line, without additional weight. And then uphill helps a little bit, of course. Uphill they have to push a little more to make up for the incline, right? And that helps in a way also to let the body weight sink a little into the hind legs, right? And Mountain View Equine says, I missed the first 30 minutes trying to get my internet to cooperate. Did you go over ways to help the canter get balanced? No, not yet. We're just chatting, so we'll start in a minute. So we haven't missed anything yet, because we had tech issues too. And we can probably start now. And it says we're 98 viewers. Very good. Yeah. So, okay, let me share our keynote that Jana made, and she made a little bit of a new version of it. For those of you who've seen some of the last presentations earlier today or yesterday. So this is a slightly updated version. So canter of a different color, Shanna calls it. How to train the canter correctly and effectively and bypass the mistakes that cost you time, money, and grief. Yeah. So welcome again. See my little Christmas tree. And so, we talked about the questions, right? I think a good canter would feel like, we had some good answers, and then being able to solve my horses and my own canter issues would enable me to ... So that's what we were just talking about. So on the one hand, you need a good canter in order to be able to kind of move up the levels and to develop the horse's gaits in a balanced fashion. Not that you have a horse that does Grand Prix at the walk and then training level at the canter, but that the three gaits are somewhat evenly distributed after a while. It's normal that the horses maybe are a little ahead at the walk and then a little behind at the canter for a while, but at some point the canter needs to catch up to, so the horse can progress, in a balanced way. And plus a good quality canter is gymnastically useful. It can really develop the belly muscles, the hindquarters. It improves the impulsion in the trot, right? Trot and canter have an interesting relationship, right? The trot gives better balance to the canter oftentimes. So trot work gives better balance to the canter. The canter gives more impulsion to the trot and often more roundness. Often after a good canter, the horses are more through the back when you're going back to the trot, and they have a little bit more bounce and a little bit more suspension when you trot after the canter, but only if the canter has a certain quality. So you can develop the gaits with the help of the canter and add a little bit more impulsion, and it's good for the back, it's good for the belly muscles, and so on. So yeah, roadmap to a great canter, because it's a little bit, training is in some ways a little bit like a road trip, right? You start where you are, and then you have a certain goal, a certain destination that you want to reach, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that. So, and then there are a couple of points we want to talk about. One is that you cannot really teach a horse how to canter, and you don't need to teach the horse how to canter, but because horses are born knowing how to canter. Of course, there is a wide spectrum between horses that prefer the canter over any other gait. They use the trot mainly to transition into canter when they're on their own in the pasture, right? And they do everything in the canter if they can. And then there's the other horse that does everything in the walk and the trot, and that never canters unless he's in a big hurry, right? And has to go somewhere fast. Yeah. And when you have gaited horses, then it's often difficult to separate the different gaits. Like if you have 4 or 5 gaited horses, it's often a challenge to make each gait clear, pure, separate, and accessible, so that you can really choose which gait you're doing at what time. And sometimes they kind of blend, and the horses sometimes sort of go from one gait to the next, and the rider can't always determine safely or reliably which gait the horse is doing, right? So that's an additional challenge. But if you have your regular 3-gaited horse, normally they know how to canter, some better than others, but the challenge is then to do it with the additional weight of the rider, right? So here we have a picture of the same horse, one as a baby, the foal, very uphill canter, and the other one as, I don't know how old he was in that picture, but he's been under saddle. Yeah, he was under saddle for more like 6, I think. And so then if the horses already know how to canter, why is it so hard for a lot of horses and riders to canter well together? And the answer is usually it's the additional weight of the rider that changes the center of gravity, changes the balance, requires also, of course, more strength for the horse to canter well. It's like think of yourself doing sport with or without a heavy backpack, right? Without the heavy backpack, you can run faster, jump higher, jump faster, do more complicated gymnastics. And now if you had to do this with a big backpack, that would interfere, right, with the ease of movement. And unfortunately, that's sort of what happens to the horse, right? Just the fact that our weight is on top of the back already makes the horse's job harder of moving nicely. And part of the goal in dressage is to help the horse move as well with the rider as he does without the rider, right? So it's up to us to learn how to do that, right? The horse knows how to be a horse. That's what he was born as, right? But we were not born to be riders. We have to learn to be riders, which takes a whole lifetime, right? And longer. So in order to be able to help the horse move as well under saddle as he does at liberty, we have to have certain tools. And the first one is seat and balance. At the Spanish riding school under Podhajski, the young riders had to take lunge lessons to develop the seat every day for 3 years. And under the Empire, apparently it was 5 years even. And then at some point in the 20s or 30s, it got reduced to 3. And recently it was reduced to, I think, 1.5 years, something like that. So seat balance, good seat is a balanced seat, a seat that is stable around the lumbar spine and supple in the hip joints, knee joints, ankles, elbows, the arm muscles, leg muscles should be relaxed. The support base should be as large as possible. The area of contact between the horse and rider should be as large as possible. Because if you have a very large area of contact, more information can be passed back and forth between horse and rider, right? Through a large surface area, you feel more than through a small area. And soft, relaxed muscles feel more than hard, tight muscles. Plus the horse is happier with soft rider muscles and with a larger surface area. Like if you spread your weight out over a big surface area, then it means the pressure in terms of kilograms per square centimeter or whatever pounds per square inch is lower, right? And if you concentrate your entire weight on a small surface area, then the pressure on the horse's back is a lot higher, right? So in other words, if you spread your weight out more, you make it easier for the horse to lift his back and go through the back. If you concentrate your weight on just on your seat bones, for example, then that's a very small area, and then that can easily lead to the horse dropping his back because it gets uncomfortable, gets too much for the horse's back. Yeah, so when you have a balanced seat, yeah, you can develop feel and you can then develop coordination, right? The balance is the prerequisite for the independent seat, where you can move your different body parts separately, independently from each other. So you can touch the horse with your lower leg without hanging on the reins, or you can give a half hold on one rein without doing anything with the other hand. Like you could close your fingers on one rein and stay completely relaxed and passive with the other, or even relax that, yield that a little bit as you're half holding on one rein, yield a little on the other if you need to, right? Or you should be able to move, to use inner thigh muscles, lower leg muscles, and so on separately, independently of each other. So it becomes a fairly differentiated network of aids. And you can only do that if you're so balanced that you don't have to grip with your legs or hang on the reins in order not to fall off, right? So that's why seat and balance is sort of the foundation. Everything else comes from that. Yeah, the balanced seat with relaxed arms and legs, and with a large surface area between the horse and the rider, that allows you to improve or to develop your awareness of the horse and yourself, right? So you can then focus on sensing where you are in space, like where your pelvis is. Is it vertical? Is it tilted forward or back? Is it aligned neutral, belly button pointing at 12 o'clock, tailbone pointing at 6 o'clock, or is your pelvis rotated, belly button pointing at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and which then has an influence over where the horse is going, right? And you can spread or expand your body awareness beyond your own body into the horse's body and all the way through the horse's body to the ground. So you're feeling the ground through the horse's feet when they touch down, right? And yeah, with that awareness, you can learn to feel where the horse's feet are, like on which line they're moving, and you can learn to feel when a leg is touching down, when it's lifting up, and so on. So the prerequisite for that is a certain seat with balance, with stability around the lumbar spine, but then softness, suppleness around your arm, leg muscles, and arm joints, leg joints. Yeah, in addition to that seat and feel and coordination and so on, you need a certain understanding of training and strategy, the gymnastic principles, biomechanics, that help you filter through all that sensory input, right? Because every second you're on the horse, you get input from the horse. You're feeling the horse's movements through your seat, your thigh, your knee, your calf, your fingers, and so on. And then you have to be able to interpret what it all means, what the horse is doing, right? And yeah, so the theoretical knowledge gives you a framework into which you can integrate all the little pieces of data that come in, and then you can yeah, interpret them in terms of, is this good or is this bad, or what does that tell me about the horse's balance and training level, and then all this interpretation of the data allows you to make decisions as to, so what am I going to work on, or how am I going to deal with what is happening, what aspect of what I'm feeling am I going to work on and improve, things like that. And then practical technique, of course, that means then that you have to be able to apply the aids at a certain moment in time of the footfall sequence in certain combinations. You have to be familiar with training techniques like not only riding but also lunging and work in hand and so on, and so forth, and be able to choose the right exercises for each horse, for each situation, and so on. Yeah, and that, so you already see that the analysis part then requires the rider to be able to think. And becoming a thinking rider was traditionally very important. And like in Spanish riding school, in the directives from 1898 that were written by the director at the time, Feldmarschall-Leutnant von Holbein, they specify that each rider has to be able to think, and each rider has to be able to explain to his superior, trainer, where the horse is in his training, what the issues are, and he has to be able to explain what he's doing, why he's doing it, and if they couldn't explain that, they were in trouble, And Carl Mikulka told me at one point that apparently, in the past, the Spanish riding school would fire people if they didn't become thinking riders. Like if they couldn't analyze, if they couldn't explain, what was happening, what they were doing, then they didn't last. So, but unfortunately, very few trainers and instructors teach their students to think like trainers. And that's probably because a lot of professionals are very field-based riders. They sense what needs to be done, they do it, but they can't necessarily explain it or verbalize it because they never really thought about it or analyzed it for themselves, right? And then they have a hard time passing the knowledge on, and some instructors, they just worry that if they teach their students too much, then they won't come back at some point because they become too independent and too good, so to speak, right? Yeah. And so if you're riding with somebody who just gives you these technical instructions like drive more, half hold more, whatever, more inside leg, more outside rein, right? Make him rounder, ride more forward, then the horse may get better in that lesson, but you won't necessarily know why, or you won't necessarily know how you got there. If the horse ends the lesson better than he started, right? Without the explanation of the what, why, how. And I've mentioned that in the last, our last webinars too, that I had a student in a lesson, was a new student a few years ago, who had ridden in a clinic with someone else the weekend before me or so. And she had a great clinic, horse went really well. That instructor rode the horse through her. He told her exactly what to do when. And the horse got better and better and better. So she had a great ride. But at the end, she had no idea how she got there, right? And it's a little bit like being blindfolded, and then taken for a car ride to a beautiful spot. And then you get out of the car, you take your blindfold off, and it's wonderful there. And then, when your time's up, put the blindfold back on, and then you get dropped off where you were initially picked up, and then you have no idea where the beautiful place in the woods is. So, so she couldn't reproduce it, right? And it's kind of sad, because then you want to get back to that. You have that feeling now in your body, and you want to experience that again, and that this is what the feeling you need to get for the horse, so that the horse can progress. And but if you have no idea how you got there, what you need to do to get back there, then you're stuck. So that's why we always explain the theory and the why you do something, what it's supposed to achieve, and what the purpose is of a certain aid or a certain exercise, or so that you can always get back to the nice feeling and a nice place, right? And so there are principles in training that are the same for all horses, and you need to be you need to know the principles. You need to be able to apply them to the individual horse, right? You know, there's a huge variety of different breeds and types and personalities and so on, but they all share certain things in common. That's why the principles are universal, just like laws of physics are universal, right? Biomechanics is universal. But since the horses have different body types, different conformation, different gaits, different personalities, you have to adapt the principles to each horse. So it's a little bit like solving an equation, right, in math or in physics, where you have several variables and then you have a few numbers in there, and then you have to solve that equation, you know, and for each horse, then the actual variables have different values, so to speak. Right. So, and that's that. Yeah, that's what it's like to think like a trainer, that you take your principle, you apply it to the horse, right, and then you figure out what the horse needs, right. So, and you need to have a roadmap, a strategy. You have to know how to get from point A to point B. Yeah, and if you don't have that yet, then that's just because nobody has explained it to you yet. And it's also something that you don't find so easily in the literature. Right? The literature approaches things from slightly different angle usually, so you usually don't find, you know, actionable strategy advice. Right? So then the other point we wanted to make is that the canter usually doesn't get better by cantering, but on the contrary, it can make it worse and create bigger problems. I mean, when the canter already has a good quality, then, you know, there comes a time where you can canter more during a session, and then it helps. But if the canter is still of very poor quality, then cantering more will just confirm the bad canter, so to speak. And then the horse ends up thinking this is how the canter needs to be, or this is the way it always is, right? So, yeah, here's a picture of a horse that we're working with, where somebody tried that. They did a lot of forward cantering around the ring because they thought that they needed to, I don't know, practice the canter for stallion approvals and things like that. And it scared the horse because he really isn't that balanced yet, not that supple and strong in the hindquarters yet to canter well, and traumatized him a little bit. So now he's a little nervous when you get on him, because he thinks, now off we go again. So, you know, so now we have to teach him to relax, calm down. We don't want anything, you know, and yeah, you can easily overface the horse. If you canter badly a lot, then you ingrain the wrong muscle memory, the wrong idea of what the canter feels like to the horse, and you build the wrong muscles. You might be developing an underneck, and the back muscles might atrophy, you know, that sort of thing. Plus, if the horse canters on the forehand and crooked and so on, then yeah, the wear and tear is considerable, and yeah, there's a risk of injury, like arthritic changes in the joints or tendon injuries, depending on, you know, how it goes. But yeah, the best way to keep the horse sound and healthy is to help him be balanced and supple, and then the movements will be soft. The impact of the feet on the ground will be soft, and the workload is evenly distributed throughout the body, you know, and not between the left side of the body and the right side, and between the front legs and the hind legs and so on, so that the horse does not overburden one front leg, you know, and whereas the diagonal hind leg is just idling next to the horse. So yeah, so, and then you may have had, you know, common training advice in lessons that didn't work, and even though it was not wrong, right? So there is a lot of, yeah, sort of conventional wisdom training advice that you find in books, and that's sort of a certain tradition, and it's not incorrect, but it may not work for the horse that you're riding at the moment, right? It may make the horse worse, right? So that's why it's important to know the principles and know the horse, and adapt the training principles so that yeah, you're helping the horse and not just mechanically doing some sort of cooking recipe, painting by numbers kind of thing that then is completely wrong for this horse at this moment in time, right? Yeah, so that's where the theoretical knowledge then is important. And yeah, so how do you know what's correct for you and your horse? If the horse improves, gets more beautiful, stays sound, becomes rounder, stronger, softer, and so on, more pleasant to ride, then it couldn't be all wrong what you're doing, right? And usually it means, yeah, the training program is correct, right? But if the horse gets worse, or if an exercise or an aid or something you're doing is making the horse harder, stiffer, more crooked, and so on, then it's obviously not the right thing to do at this moment in time for that horse, right? So yeah, then how many times have you been given advice that actually makes things worse? We've probably all been there, right? That the trainer suggested something that made things worse. And yeah, if the tip or the suggestion sounds reasonable and it's not abusive, then there's nothing wrong with trying it and giving it a chance. And then, but on the other hand, if it's not working, then at some point you also have to then say, okay, let's do something else. This is obviously making my horse worse. And as a good trainer will see that too, that, oh, I was wrong, choosing that particular exercise for this horse or whatever, let's do something else, right? So yeah, so the goal then for us today is to give you a training roadmap, so you get a better idea of how to get from here to there, from the horse's present canter to the canter that you're aiming for. And yeah, so if you have that roadmap, then if you know where you're going, then and what path to follow and why you're doing it, then you're more equipped to make better choices for yourself and your horse. You're more likely to get a good outcome for yourself and your horse. So the recipe for the training success is the 1 part thinking rider, and then 1 part strategy, 1 part effective technique, the what, why, how. Yeah, so in any situation, you have to basically analyze what's going on, where is it coming from, why is that happening, right? And then once you found the underlying cause of a problem, then you can implement, remedies. You can try adjustments to your seat and aids. You can try certain exercise patterns to fix it, and then observe the outcome. Does it make it better or worse? And yeah, so and you need the technical knowledge to know how to do it, how to write these patterns, or how to apply these aids and so on. So you can always break everything down into the what, why, how. What am I supposed to do? Why am I supposed to do it? How am I supposed to do it, right? So yeah, so and then why are you here today, right? So the people who work with us and come to us, usually want to do what's best for the horse. They want a happy, sound, and healthy horse, and of course that's the goal of gymnastic dressage. Keep your horse sound and healthy for a long time. Keep him happy, make the work interesting, make the work interesting, make it pleasant, so the horse is comfortable in the work with you, and so on. And people who work with us are passionate about their riding, and they want to improve as riders themselves, and they want to train their horse in a way that's ethical, that doesn't just exploit the talent, right? Because it's not about pushing the horse to do fancy movements or fling his legs, in spectacular gaits, but it's really to develop balance, body awareness, suppleness, straightness, and throughness, and then out of that improved balance, body control, suppleness, strength, you can develop the more advanced movements and bigger gaits and more, more beautiful gaits with a bigger range of motion. Yeah, and so and another thing, the people who work with us usually want to learn to train the horses themselves. They want to learn. They don't really want to pay somebody else to do it for them and then just sit there and watch, but they actually want to learn to do it themselves. Right? And most likely, you've all tried a lot of things that haven't worked. Like we have tried a lot of things that didn't work. So that's and that's becomes useful knowledge when you're teaching somebody else. So if you've gone down a lot of dead ends and made a lot of detours, and explored things that didn't work, then you can help other people avoid those same detours. Can you tell them, well, you don't need to try that because it's not going to work. So, but here is something that does work. So, right. And yeah, and then maybe your horse doesn't respond well to being pushed or pressured into cantering too soon, right? Because then if you canter too early or you force the horse to canter, then that only results in tension and creates fear and resistances and so on. And it can become dangerous, right? If the horses get scared, then they might get spooky, they might start bolting or bucking or rearing or something like that. If you push them enough out of balance and then apply enough force, then it freaks the horse out, and then they may start to refuse to cooperate. Right? Yeah. So yeah, another reason why maybe you're tuning into us is that you don't have access to a trainer or instructor. We have a lot of students who live in remote areas where they would have to travel for many hours to find the next dressage rider or dressage instructor. Right? Then with this lockdown, maybe your trainer can't come to your barn, or you can't come to your trainer, or maybe you have a horse that doesn't load in the trailer. Sometimes horses get very nervous when they have to travel somewhere, and then the horse is such a nervous wreck when you get to the location of a clinic that the horse isn't really able to learn a whole lot because you're just calming down his nerves the whole time, right? So so these online trainings can be useful in situations like that, right, where you cannot get together with a trainer for whatever reason. And or maybe you want better understanding so you can get more out of your regular lessons. We have students in our courses who take lessons once a week or so with a trainer, and after our courses they say that now they get a lot more out of the lessons with their regular teacher, because now they understand why the teacher wants them to do certain things, or they understand how to do these things when the teacher tells them now do this or do this. Then they have a better picture of what the purpose is in the training, or how to do it in terms of seat and aids, etc. And so they progress faster with their own teacher. Some of our online students take the course exercises to their teacher, to their live teacher, and they work on these exercises together. Some trainers are open enough to take that input sort of from our courses, and then they work on it together with the students, which is perfect, right? Because then they get the instant feedback on the ground, the eyes on the ground too. Yeah, then of course, in order to improve as a rider, we have to keep learning. We all do. And in order to make progress with the horse's training, you need to know how to help the horse better. And a lot of people, of course, don't know how, but that's where we can help. And I was once in your boots. That's a very, very old picture of me. So I was sort of not the natural talented rider. I couldn't just get on and do stuff. When somebody told me, like the teacher I was riding with at that time, when the photo was taken, I told me in one lesson, your horse has to be rounder, he has to be more on the bit. And of course I knew that. I could see it and feel it, but I didn't know how. Right? But and that teacher didn't tell me how to make the horse rounder or come on the bit more. So that was frustrating. And so I had to figure a lot of things out through analysis, really, and observing the horse, observing the interplay between what I was doing, what the horse was doing, reading, all the old literature especially, and practicing a lot with a lot of different horses. And so I eventually developed this system together with Shanna, right? That it's like a systematic framework where each piece has its function. Every observation that we've made can be kind of fit into that system and can be explained within the system. And so it leads to a sort of training methodology that allows you to analyze everything in terms of the what, why, how, and make the right choices for each horse to progress in the training. So 10 years ago, I wrote everything that I knew at the time down in these dressage principles based on biomechanics, hoping that it would be beneficial, helpful for other people. Essentially, I wrote the book that I had needed 30 years earlier. That's sort of the type of information I had been looking for, and that wasn't out there 30 years earlier. Right? And then I wrote a book on long reining then in 2014, because long reining was always sort of a hobby of mine. I always enjoyed that. So it's a how-to guide. And then here's Shanna with one of our horses. Yeah, he was young at the time still. We developed a system together. I'm the one who wrote it down, but we really developed it by writing together, talking about what happened in the rides, what we observed, trying to figure out how to solve certain problems, giving each other feedback, and all these endless hours of conversations about the horses we were working with, our observations, also the challenges that we were facing with each horse, and so on, that made the system what it is today. Right? Without Shanna, it wouldn't be what it is. And so we together developed it, and are still continuing to develop it. I mean, it's still growing. We're still learning more. We're still figuring things out, and it's evolving. It's getting new dimensions, and we're exploring new areas, so to speak. And and these dressage principles based on biomechanics, they're really they take the old classical principles that you find in the old masters literature. And these classical principles that have stood the test of time have done so because they're based on the nature of the horse, physics, biomechanics, and psychology, right? And then, of course, we added our own thoughts, our own experiences with the horses that we were working with, right? And this training system is really based on biomechanics, like how movement travels through the horse's body, how the horse has to balance himself or position himself to be balanced and to be able to use his body in a way that is healthy, and where muscles work with each other, not against each other, etc., so that it's energy efficient. And and horse psychology, of course, plays a big role. We'll get into that in a little bit too. So it's important to know and to feel what the horse is thinking and what the horse is feeling. Oops, I don't know what happened here. It switched. Hold on a second.
What happened?
My keynote just disappeared and it went to something else. Huh, that's so weird. Hold on a second. I don't know what. See, more tech issues. This is really funny. Okay, it just closed it, I think. Okay.
Maybe it crashed.
It's something, yeah. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get it back here, and Oh, where were we?
You've done that.
You've done that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it closed on me. Sorry. Now I had to open that keynote back up, and now I'm sharing it again.
It's
here.
one of those.
It's bizarre. It's like, I don't know. It's
I would
against
say
us.
day, but it's not just
Yeah.
day. It's been several days
It's
like
the
this. We're just
weekend from
persevering
hell.
through. Head down.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly here. Yeah. So learn how to work with the horse, learn how the horse thinks, and learn what the horse is feeling at the moment. And so that leads us again to the two different approaches to training the canter. The one is the practice through repetition approach that you often hear people saying that if you want to make the canter better, you just have to canter a lot. Like with that, based on the idea that practice makes perfect, right? But practice really only perfects the quality of the work, or confirms the quality of the work that you're doing. So if the quality of the work is low, then that becomes confirmed as a habit in the horse, right? So if the horse canters on the forehand and crooked and stiff and upside down, and you do this for hours and hours and hours, then that becomes the horse's canter. Then the horse thinks that's the way you do it, that's the way it needs to be. And then he develops the body awareness around it, and he develops the musculature that he needs for that bad quality canter, right? And then the longer he canters badly, the more difficult it gets to fix it again, right? So that practicing like a bad quality canter doesn't teach the horse anything. It doesn't improve the body awareness, doesn't improve the understanding, doesn't help the balance, it doesn't improve the straightness, and so on. So the canter will not get better, it may actually get worse, and the horse can become unsound because of the wear and tear that's associated with stiffness and bracing and lack of balance and lack of straightness. The other approach is the thinking rider's approach. That's where you analyze what is preventing the horse from cantering well, and teaching the horse the necessary prerequisite skill for a good quality canter. So in other words, you can look at the canter or feel the canter and then think, well, basically what's good and what's bad about it, and what needs to change in order to make it a good canter if it's not a good canter, and what's preventing the horse from cantering more uphill, more straight, with more suppleness, more bounciness, and so on. So, and these prerequisite skills are something you can teach the horse at the walk, at the trot, even at the halt sometimes, right? Especially issues of body awareness, balance, suppleness, and so on. You can teach in slow motion, at the walk. Some things you can teach really well at the halt. You can do them on the ground without sitting on the horse through work in hand. And so that the horse has time to figure out his own balance, his own feet, where they need to go and where he needs to support himself to do certain movements. And then when the horse can do it in slow motion, you can do it a little faster. When the horse can do it on his own, in hand, for example, then you can add the weight of the rider. Then he can learn now to do the same thing with the additional weight of the rider. And then you gradually give him the skills he needs to canter well, right? And this approach preserves the horse's soundness, because you're not spending not covering large distances in an unhealthy kind of canter that adds a lot of wear and tear on the joints and the tendons. But you're teaching the horse the balance and body awareness that he needs to move like a cat, and that soft, fluid, cat-like motion is a lot healthier, because there's no jarring on the joints and no stress on the tendons. And it's mentally, psychologically a lot more pleasant for the horse, right? An unbalanced horse, stiff horse, will always be nervous and apprehensive, because they always feel like they're, about to fall down. And the balanced, supple horse will be a lot happier in his own body, will feel a lot more secure, so he's going to be a lot calmer overall. Yeah, so in terms of the horse, the philosophy is to incrementally teach him the prerequisite skills that he needs to be able to canter under saddle in a healthy balance and posture. And one good approaches to teach the new skills in slow motion at the walk or even at the halt. And when the horse can perform the movement or the exercise at the walk, then we repeat it in the trot. So, for example, you can, in order to work on body awareness and suppleness, you can do little 90-degree turns on the forehand in motion, where you move the croup 90 degrees one way and 90 degrees the other way. So he learns essentially that he can make a circle with his hind legs around the front legs, right? The front legs stay on the track, the hind legs go a little to one side, back to where they came from, right? And as the croup goes sideways, the body weight has to be shifted into the hind leg on that side, where you're going, right? So if the croup moves to the left hind leg has to support, so the right hind leg can cross a little and vice versa. And then you can do the same thing with turn on the haunches, right? You can move the shoulders 90 degrees around the hind legs. And then, if you move the shoulders 90 degrees to the left hind leg has to support the weight so that the other legs can travel around it. And then vice versa, if you move the shoulders to the right hind leg has to support. So this teaches the horse that, the front legs can move around the hind legs can move around the front legs. He can support himself more with the left hind, more with the right hind. These are all super important skills on which you build, the advanced work later on. Initially, it's all rudimentary. It's slow motion, big movements. And then as the horse understands the principles, you can make these movements smaller. Then you can, move the croup a little bit to the left or to the right, or you can move the shoulders an inch to the left or to the right. And then, so you develop the fine motor skills after you've showed the horse the basic large scale, slow motion movements, right? And eventually then you'll be able to adjust the horse in the canter, move the shoulders a centimeter more to the left or the haunches a centimeter to the right so that he's straighter. And when you're teaching students, that approach is beneficial for the rider as well, because then the students learn how to talk to the shoulders, how to talk to the haunches of the horse, to move them left or right and align them better on the line of travel. So it helps to go from slow to fast, and from slow big movements to quicker smaller movements, right? That develops the body awareness of the horse, develops the understanding of the aids and so on. Yeah, and so when we feel like now the horse is nicely balanced in the walk and the trot through the exercises we've done, then we can prepare him for the canter depart by using an exercise that brings the horse into a balance where the canter feels like the most logical next thing to do. Right? It's like you're building a little staircase of little learning steps. And when the horse gets to the top of that staircase, then he thinks, well, there must be one more, and that's the canter, right? And that's like this logical ascension. And so, our goal is to bring the horse into a posture where he thinks canter would be a good idea now, right? The more the horse thinks it's his idea, the more it occurs to the horse that, what, we could start cantering now. The better the quality will usually be, and the less the horse will argue with it or resist against it, right? So yeah, make it so inviting that it becomes the horse's own idea. And only ask for the canter if the horse feels balanced enough and round enough in the walk or the trot to canter. So it's no point in asking for the canter when the horse is just not in a position where he could canter or canter well. So in that case, if you feel like not ready yet, then stay in the walk, stay in the trot, prepare the horse some more, and then when you have a good feeling, then you ask for the transition. Yeah. So this leads sort of to the next thing, right? The quality of the canter can only be as good as the quality of the transition into it, and the quality of the transition can only be as good as the lower gait, the walk or the trot, from which you ask for the transition. So if your horse is upside down at the walk or the trot, I wouldn't ask for the canter, because then it'll probably get worse. Right? Typically, whatever issues the horse has in the slower gait will get bigger in the faster gait. That's why, when you run into trouble with the higher gait, go back to the lower gait, put the horse back together, balance him, loosen up whatever muscle tightness you've detected, and then go up one gear. So from walk to trot, from trot to canter, and so on. And so only ask for the transition when the horse feels good in that lower gait, and then chances are you get a good transition and you have a chance of getting a good next higher gait. So then cantering in good balance requires more strength of the horse's core muscles and hindquarters than most people realize. And when the horse isn't strong enough or balanced enough and you ask him to canter, then he'll feel like a victim of gravity and he's just trying to survive and trying to avoid falling down. That's something that people underestimate, how difficult it is for the horse to canter well, uphill, round, straight, with the rider's weight on his back. That's a significant muscular effort, right? That's why, on the one hand, you have to prepare carefully, and help the horse make a smooth transition into the canter. And then once the horse is in the canter, be aware that he may not be able to canter for a very long time yet. In the beginning, maybe he'll just be able to maintain the good canter for a quarter of a circle or half a circle, and then he'll break, or the canter quality deteriorates and you have to ask for the down transition. And you may only be able to get a couple of good canters in each direction in one session, and then the horse may be done, because now belly muscles are tired, hind legs are tired, so happens. And then, we have to respect that and be sensitive to that, and either give a break or finish for the day, and then, do it again next training session and over a period of months and eventually years, the horse gets stronger and will be able to canter longer periods of time. So and in terms of the rider, the rider needs some basic knowledge of biomechanics in order to be effective, an effective rider and trainer. So you have to know something about the footfall sequence, and you have to know how to get the horse into the canter, that the outside hind lifts the horse into the canter, and so on. Then you can help the horse with the preparation and with the transition. You have to know also, what prerequisites have to be fulfilled before it makes sense to canter, or before the horse is able to canter in good balance. And when you know these things, then you can prepare the horse effectively. You can bring him into a balance in which the canter depart is easy and inviting. And when you're sitting on the horse, you'll feel that there are moments when you get the feeling, yes, I could canter now from here, from this kind of trot or walk that I'm riding. The horse is able to lift up into the canter. And sometimes there are moments when there's like, no way, no, we cannot canter at this point in time. It would fail, right, if we ask. So we don't ask. We set ourselves up for success, not for failure, right? So if the timing is wrong, that when you feel like there's no way we could canter from this walk or trot right here, then you can ask, well, how do I need to change the walk or trot so that I get the feeling that the horse could canter now? And then you work on that, make that change happen, so to speak. And then of course, as a rider, we already said we need a balanced seat, a supple seat, an independent seat, in order to be able to apply the aids precisely and to help and support the horse instead of interfering with him, right? That's a very important point. So the stable, balanced, independent seat. Then here, roadmap to a good canter. Analyzing what's preventing the horse from cantering well and teaching the horse the necessary prerequisite skills for good quality canter. That's your theoretical knowledge. And then here, when you look at the roadmap, training is a little bit like going on a road trip with your car. Right? You have to start from where you are, or that means you have to know where you are. And then you have to pick out your destination of the trip, and then look at, well, which roads are between here and there that I can take. And then you find your way there with the help of a map, right? And in riding, it's very similar in that way. So you have to evaluate where you are now, right? You have to observe the horse, and then how is he moving? What does that feel like? How balanced is he? How straight? How supple? How much impulsion does he have? How well does he listen to your seat and aids? Then you interpret that information. So basically, the stream of data that comes in is then filtered through the theoretical framework that we have. And in addition to the general theory, you have to take into consideration what your horse's breed is, because different breeds have different body types and peculiarities, right? And you have to look at the horse's conformation, his personality, and also take into consideration previous training experiences or trauma, maybe. A lot of horses have had bad experiences in certain areas, and then so they're traumatized, and that shows up, and makes the job harder. So all these aspects have to enter your evaluation and your analysis, and they influence your choice of exercises and the approach you choose. Yeah, so then from there you can also think of, well, what is holding the horse back? What's preventing him from cantering well? What are the missing ingredients? It's like if you think of baking a cake, you have a whole bunch of ingredients that go into that cake, and you have to look at, well, what ingredients do I have? What ingredients do I need? And then if you're missing some ingredients, you have to go out and buy them, right? And with the horse training the canter, it's the same thing. What prerequisites have to be fulfilled before the horse is even physically able to canter well. And if you find that some of these ingredients are missing, then you have to go train them, right? You have to teach the horse these things. And like we had said earlier, do it, at the walk and the trot, and first slowly and then gradually quicker and so on. Then look for areas in the body that are tight, where the muscles are stiff and braced, so the energy doesn't flow through those areas. Also look at his understanding. Sometimes horses don't understand what we want them to do, or they know what we want them to do, but they don't know how to do it, because they think that, well, if I do that, I'm going to fall down, I'm going to die, so I'm not doing it. So sometimes you have to start at a very basic level of body awareness, so the horse knows where his feet are, where the weight is, and so on. And because that's not as self-evident to the horses as we think. A lot of horses don't have very good body awareness. Yeah, and then maybe you only find that there's one ingredient missing, and then you work on that. But maybe sometimes there are several ingredients missing, and then you have to prioritize, well, what do I work on first, right? So in a good sequence of topics, so to speak, to work on would be to first choose an arena pattern that you want to ride. Could be a circle, could be a rectangle, could be a square, a diamond, triangle, doesn't matter. Just pick a line, put the horse's feet on that line, left legs on the left side of the line, right legs on the right side of the line, so that the spine becomes a segment of the line. That is already the beginning of straightness, right? Aligning the horse on the line of travel. And then if you ride a circle, make sure it's round. If you ride a straight line, make sure it's straight. That's not so trivial in a way, but it's super important for the horse developing balance. And once you've selected your pattern, you put the horse's feet on them, and then you try to ride that pattern in a steady tempo and rhythm. So the footfalls are as regular as a metronome, not faster, slower, but it has to be really as steady as a metronome. And then you have to find a tempo that suits the horse. So a tempo in terms of beats per minute, right? Footfalls per minute. Not too fast, not too slow. The steady rhythm allows the horse to find a longitudinal balance, like front legs to hind legs balance. The correct arena pattern, the alignment of the horse on the arena pattern allows the horse to find his lateral balance. Together, they form the balance. And when the horse is balanced, he can relax the outer muscles, or he can use these outer muscles for movement, the hind leg muscles, front leg muscles, and so on. And the inner core muscles provide stability and posture. And then when the horse is balanced, he can relax. So he can drop the pole, he can lift the back, and so on. And at that point, muscles stop working against each other, and they're all working with each other. And he will, at that point, then start using only the muscles that he actually needs, because he doesn't have to brace anywhere to prevent falling down. Right? Horses that are unbalanced or crooked will always have to brace, otherwise they would fall over. And the rider then feels that as hardness, stiffness, heaviness, and so on, and bracing. And when the horse is balanced, he can relax, and then you get a nice contact, because then he relaxes the pole and stretches into the contact. And of course, you ride with a connection through the reins before that, right? And you use the reins to recycle the energy, so that you have an energy circuit from the hind legs through the horse's spine to the bit, and then through the reins and the rider's seat back to the hind legs. But the quantity and quality of the contact in your hands tells you a lot about the horse's balance and straightness and suppleness, or the quality of the training, right? So when the horse is balanced and supple and straight, you have a nice, steady, even rein contact that's not too heavy, that doesn't feel hard, but it feels alive. It's like there's energy flowing through the reins. Yeah, so if you follow that progression, you can't really go wrong in a sense, right? So when you choose a pattern, ride the horse in a steady tempo, align him on the line of travel, and so on, you may find that this may be harder or easier with some horses. Some horses might be difficult to steer, and align on the line, because they're constantly drifting somewhere, or so you'll discover missing skills, and you'll discover holes in the training, right? So you have to fill in the holes in the training, in the education of the horse. You have to remove obstacles in terms of muscle blockages, stiffness, things that are preventing joints from moving with a full range of motion, right? You can work on body awareness. That might be one of the missing ingredients, one of the holes in training, that most people don't explain body awareness enough to their horses. You remove tension and muscle blockages, because even after the horse is aligned and balanced and is starting to relax, there may still be tense, tight muscles somewhere in the body, because maybe the conformation isn't ideal, or maybe perfect. The past training history wasn't so great, and the horse carries tension, habitual tension with him because of the old training and so on. So then you still have to go looking for the tight muscles and release that tightness through exercises, right? And then teach him the dexterity, the suppleness, balance, coordination, and so on that he needs. And then when he's got better body awareness, and he's balanced and straight and so on and supple, then he can develop strength in the right muscles that are productive in moving under the rider. And yeah, and we use gymnastic exercises a lot for that. And yeah, especially with canter, you may find that not cantering for a while actually improves the canter more than cantering a lot all the time, right? So those are the two different approaches we talked about. Yeah, so you can use a step-by-step gymnastic program that develops the horse's walk and trot, or improves the horse's balance and body awareness, etc., and coordination at the walk and trot, so that he's then able to canter in good balance and with some control over his feet. And yeah, you don't need to put the horse in training, or you don't even need to take regular riding lessons in order to make progress with your horse's training. You have to know the what, why, how, right? So all the things that we've mentioned, and then yeah, you learn to think like a trainer, and then you can learn to do this yourself, right? And with this lockdown situation, you may be forced to look for help online because you can't get to your regular teacher, or your regular teacher can't get to you. So, and then you may discover that this online teaching learning is not a bad thing, that you can actually progress maybe in some ways faster than without it, right? Because the online you can fill in a lot of knowledge gaps in the students' knowledge too, because we have more time in online training to explain all the connections and the theoretical background than you have time for in a practical riding lesson, right? Yeah, so here we are. Let me see. Yeah, so let me check real quick with you with comments.
Could you check Zoom too, because I gave a few.
Okay, yeah, there's one person watching on Zoom.
She can ask
Hey,
questions.
Kent. Yeah, you can ask, exactly. Kent can ask questions too. And
Get on YouTube.
yeah, so I'll check Zoom as well. So let me go to. You have to go back up. Where were we? Trying to find where we left off reading comments. Here Gabriela Calvo says, I have a very sensitive PRE mare that most of the times flees from beneath me. When I take the time to relax her with plenty lateral work, she's able to give very good canter, but it's not stable. Yeah, the lateral work gives her better balance, better body awareness, and that helps her calm down. It grounds her, right? And so when she is balanced and grounded, then you get a better canter depart. But yeah, the stability comes then with confirming that new body awareness, the new balance, and developing strength in the muscles that she needs to use to canter like that, right? Twinkle Bell says, how do you change the state of mind of the horse? My horse sometimes still rushes into canter. She's medium advanced. Still rushes into the canter. That's interesting, yeah. Yeah, make sure the horse is very balanced in the walk or the trot before, calm, grounded, connect the feet to the weight and the ground. That often plays a big role, that the horse has a very good sense of where the feet are, that there is a leg at each corner of the body, and that each leg is strong enough to support the body weight. And the horse has to learn to shift the weight from one side of the body to the other. And when they have that sense that they're stable because there's a foot at each corner of the body, and the legs are strong enough to hold the body, then they usually calm down. Then of course you can also look at your thoughts and your state of mind. Like, do you hold your breath, and do you expect the horse to get tense and fast? Or you could look at how am I asking for the canter? Am I I don't know, pushing the horse into the canter too much? Am I tipping forward? Am I pushing with my seat bones? Like these kind of things. Am I doing anything that could compromise the horse's balance? So a lot of people do that. There's so many people who start the canter by leaning forward and to the inside, which upsets the balance. Right? And then the horse has to kind of run into the canter if they canter at all. So there can be sometimes little things if the horse is sensitive, just, you know, moving your body in the wrong direction, tiny amount, you know, or giving the aid, I don't know, too big at the wrong time, that sort of thing, that can also contribute to the horse then getting nervous and rushy in the canter part. Yeah. Oh, good. And here more answers to our initial questions. Lavina Snook says a good canter would feel like riding a wave, surf, yep. And being able to solve our canter issues would enable me to help my senior horse, 27, wow, stay supple in his back and develop his abs. Yes, very true. It's true, the older horses sometimes get a bit of a saggy back, right? And a canter might help to strengthen the abs so the back stays strong and up. And Subo says, is there a rough timeline that it takes to develop a decent canter? In other words, months, years, weeks, or is it too individual to each horse? That is very individual. It depends on the horse's natural canter. If the horse has a really good canter in the pasture, then it won't take very long. Then you may be able to incorporate some canter work at the lunge line when you're starting the horse under saddle. Like before you sit on the horse, you can maybe already do some trot canter transitions at the lunge line if the horse has a good natural canter. If the horse has a poor natural canter, then it can take a long time. And yeah, some horses with a good natural canter, you can canter already when they're 3-4 years old, and they can handle that. Other horses may have to be able to do a shoulder in the trot under saddle before it makes sense to canter. Some horses may have to be able to do trot half passes before they are stable and balanced enough to do a good canter. So that's very much dependent on the horse's balance and the horse's natural canter. So with some horses it goes fast, with some horses it takes a long time. Then here, Mountain View Equine says a good canter would feel like a comfortable, smooth rocking movement. Being able to solve our canter issues would enable my horse to build better abdominal muscles and stay more supple. Yeah, exactly. And Shauna Kilkenny says, I often feel stressed if they want me to start cantering now. How am I to do all the prep? Yeah, when you're in a lesson and the teacher asks you to canter now, you have to at least fix your seat and half halt into the outside hind, flex the outside hind with your half halts, and then ask for the canter. If you're not in a lesson, you can use a more elaborate preparation, use some of our exercises, for example, to prepare the horse. And that actually, that question reminds me that I think it's even in Podhajski's book, My Teachers, My Horses, no, My Horses, My Teachers, that when a young student in Vienna was asked, so how do you do this or that, then he had to begin his answer by saying, I take time and then I do this and that, right? And that's actually a good strategy to maybe take a deep breath, buy yourself a little time, gather your thoughts, fix your seat, and then, prepare the horse and then do it. If you rush into it, that's another thing you see frequently, that people ask the horse for canter without any kind of warning, any kind of preparation. So the horse is completely surprised, and shocked that the rider suddenly wants to canter. And then, canter will be poor quality and the horse will get nervous, because you're ambushing the horse. So even if you're in a lesson, maybe still try to take your deep breath, sit, half halt, and canter, right? And if you're on your own, you can choose different preparatory exercises to help the horse get there. And don't let the teacher stress you. Don't let the teacher pressure you, so to speak, into doing it yesterday. But take breath slowly. I take my time. I prepare myself and then I do it. Because then it may feel like you're doing it more slowly, but chances of success are higher. So you actually end up moving faster, right? Because otherwise you rush, you screw up, you have to do it again, right? And then it's already, stressful for the horse and the rider. So yeah, take time, take your time to prepare. And then here, Jennifer Morris says, oops, what was it? Just skipped here. This way of training definitely helps my older horse stay under threshold so I can get an honest try, but not a sore horse the next day. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. And good. Let me see here. Then Cindy Booker says, do you think it's necessary that you can sit your horse's trot before you think of starting the canter? Good question. Of course, it's beneficial, right, if you can sit the trot, but there are young warm bloods that have giant gaits, and good canters, and you may not be able to sit the trot, or the horse may not be able to carry you in a sitting trot, but he may be able to canter. So you could rise to the trot and then maybe just sit a couple of strides to apply your half vaults and then canter, So in some situations, it's probably better to do the canter from a sitting trot, from a rising trot, and like in the Spanish riding school in the past, they would not sit the trot for the first year of training, but they were cantering already during that time. So, and then they would sit the trot 3 strides and canter, So yeah, you don't have to sit the trot necessarily. And then Jennifer Morris says, what would be a good baseline exercise to video to allow comparison over the course? Yeah, if you want to do a before and after video, what you could do is ride a 20-meter circle at the trot, enlarge 2 strides on the open side, then apply 2 half vaults when the outside hind is down and canter. So it's that enlarge, slow down, and canter. That's sort of one of the standard exercises, one of the easiest ones that you can do with very young horses even. So the inside leg brings the horse to the outside rein connects to the outside hind by half halting, and then you ask for the canter depart. And then you will see if the horse canters, and if he canters, how he canters, and then by the end of the course you can compare the quality of the transition and the quality of the canter. Mm-hmm. Frauke says, I'm fairly sure Cookie the pony doesn't know where her feet are. She tripped over the mounting block yesterday. Yeah, yeah. It's amazing actually how many horses don't have a good sense of where their feet are. And Tracy Wessel says, my horse is new for me, so hopefully I will figure this out. But I find it sometimes his canter feels like he's climbing instead of moving forward. It may be related to some levels of excitement. Yeah. Well, if the horse is new, you're still getting to know each other. He's getting to know you. You're getting to know him. So take your time to build the relationship. Take time to figure out what he's like, what his gaits feel like, how he does things. No rush. And like if the horse is new to you, you don't need to canter right away, right? You can just take time to get used to each other at the walk and the trot. And the climbing canter, could have a number of reasons, right? Often it's because they're not pushing enough with the hind legs, so they just lift up and down, and they don't go forward enough. So then you could try and send the horse forward, especially when your seat gets pulled forward in the second beat of the stride, and then see if that fixes it. Yeah. Then Elaine Hildred says, one of my problems is I tend to throw away one or both reins as I ask for the canter, like I try so hard to avoid holding the horse. Ideas in helping me fix this problem with me. It's a seat issue, keeping the connection between your seat and your elbows, like the pelvis elbow connection. In the course, we have lots of visual images, mental images for the riders to improve the seat. They will help. Yeah, you have to keep the seat intact. You can't break up, and you can't throw the reins away. Otherwise, you interrupt the energy circuit from the hind legs through the spine of the horse back to the hind legs. Elizabeth Rohr says, my horse, Frisian Lipizzan Gelding, has a very good canter in both directions, but always prefers the transition from walk rather than trot. Do most horses have a preference for one over the other? Some horses have an easier time cantering from the trot because they use the momentum and they can roll into the canter. If you do it from the walk, it takes more strength. The horse has to have more powerful hind legs in a way, and horses that canter better from the walk are often horses that have a lot of pushing power. And if you do it from the trot, they might run into the canter and lose balance. Whereas if you do it from the walk, they can lift and stay more balanced that way. So most horses will find one easier than the other, or you will get a better canter transition from either walk or trot. Right? And the other one has to be developed then through training. Yeah, and Shauna here, Kilkenny says, yes, I started telling them that I need some seconds to get everything done, as otherwise my horse starts bucking. Hello, yeah. If you surprise the horse, if you ambush the horse, some of them will start bucking, right? And it's good to tell the teacher that I need a moment, give me time, give me a second here, to get ready. And they should understand that, it's not like in the military where you have to canter on command. So, yeah. And then here, Gray Draken says, the 11-year-old mare I ride uses every excuse to fall out of the canter, so I end up drumming on her with my leg. Is there a way to encourage her to continue the pace I asked for? You have to think about why the horse does that. Some horses may lack the strength to canter for a longer period of time, so they kind of fall out. Other horses don't have enough inner fire, enough energy. So their core muscles are not engaged enough, which means then they sort of go splat, they fall on the forehand and they end the canter. That can happen. So you may have to prepare the canter in such a way that you raise the energy and you get the horse to engage the abdominal muscles more, and then they give you a better transition, and then they stay in the canter a little bit better. Drumming with the leg is not a good way to go because it will make the horse brace the belly muscles rather than the outer belly muscles rather than engage the inner ones. You can also look at the seat. How much core muscle engagement do you have? How stretched are you in your seat? How is your energy? Because if your core muscles are too soft and your own energy level is too low, then the horse would mimic you in a sense, right? Then they would have insufficient core muscle engagement and they would have insufficient energy. So you may have to bring your own energy up for that horse and stretch your seat and engage your abs and back muscles, and then the horse may stay in the canter longer. So, and with some horses you have to be super relaxed and super soft and mellow, and with some horses you have to rev yourself up a little bit. Because otherwise they will be too, sleepy. So, but I know I have a lot more questions. But I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the online course that we're doing on the canter, because they're in the course we deal with all these issues essentially, right?
Ask them if that's okay, please.
If that's okay with you. So so a lot of the questions you're asking, they are addressed in the course actually, and we have exercises for those. So let me, here on the chat, hold on a second. Kent says, I have two horses with enormous walk and canters relatively to this size. One in particular gets flat and strung out in the canter, especially in her stiff direction here. Even though walk, canter, and canter walk is easy for her, I encourage more jump with seat and leg and do a lot of transitions. Just add a jumping over pole, which really helped. Any other ideas? Yeah, if the strides are really long, that's a challenge, right? What you could do is prepare the horse with lateral movements and turns, like intricate patterns where there are lots of turns and short distances, and that you're talking to the four corners of the horse's body through the exercise, moving the four corners closer together, which makes the support base smaller. It improves the balance. The top line gets longer. And then you can choose an exercise where the horse has to pick up the canter in a small space or into a small space. So they have to sit down and lift. So they can't take off in a giant leap, but they have to canter with a shorter stride. And then once you get the transition more uphill with shorter strides, then it's easier to maintain that rather than starting with the long strung out strides and then trying to fix that. And then the horse may only be able to hold that more uphill canter for a short amount of time, and then you may need to come back to the trot or the walk, prepare again, because that requires a lot of abdominal muscle engagement to make things more compact. And you can, once you have enough energy, enough bounce, and the wheelbase is short enough, then you can direct the energy more up with your seat and with half holds and stirrup stepping and so on. So the canter is bouncy, compact, short strides, but enough energy so it's more of a sort of a rubber ball, bouncy feeling, bouncy in a good way, right? Rather than this flat and running away kind of feeling. But so let me go back to sharing the screen. And so roadmap. Yeah, so in our course, right, we help you to develop the canter quality, and it's aimed at a certain spectrum of horses and riders. Like, for example, the course is good for horses that are not cantering yet because they're not balanced enough yet. We have a section in the course where there are exercises that help you teach the horse the missing ingredients that he needs to canter under saddle and canter well. It's a good course for horses and riders that are cantering but have trouble. Like some of you were mentioning, your canter is flat, or maybe it's difficult to get a good canter depart, or some horses will only canter on one lead, not on the other, or have trouble cantering on one lead. And the course will fix that. Then we help you shape the canter. So if you have a horse that is always heavy, leaning on one rein and or cantering well one direction, not so well the other direction, we can help you with that, with the exercises. And when you have a horse that already canters fairly well, the course helps you then move the horse to the point where you can start working on flying changes and half passes and eventually pirouettes. Yeah, so we teach you about the biomechanics. So there are theory elements in each module that teach you the theoretical background of footfall sequence and what happens in the horse's body and how do you, what balance does the horse need to be able to canter and to do a good depart into the correct lead and so on. And so that we help you develop the horse's training strategy step by step. We give you feedback, right? So we have a Facebook group associated with the course where you can ask questions, you can post videos, and so we have a team of assistants who will answer your questions. I will answer your questions, and we will comment on your videos and give you tips on improving whatever is visible in the video, and we can give you additional suggestions for exercises and so on. So the goal is then that you become a thinking rider and you understand what's going on, where is it coming from, what do I need to change, or what can I change, so it gets better, or that the horse improves from here, so that ultimately you learn to diagnose yourself what's happening, and you can come up with solutions on your own, right? And so you're not always dependent on somebody else. Yeah, so we always welcome questions. So you can ask the questions in the course, you can ask the questions in our Q&As, and we will try to answer any question that you have, and there's no question that's too basic to answer. Some people feel a little embarrassed asking certain questions, but there's no need. If one person is wondering, these things, then, or has a certain question, then probably there are others as well. And the most basic questions are often the most important ones. Then sometimes the hardest ones to answer well, right? But we'll do our best, and help to give you all the knowledge that you need, right, to be able to analyze what the horse is doing, where it's coming from, and come up with solutions to issues that show up. Yeah, so here we have this no questions unanswered policy, right? So yeah, we try to give you customized, tailored answers for you and your horse. By the way, if the Q&A sessions, are not long enough to answer everybody's question, then we'll schedule additional ones, right? And we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach. We don't have a cooking recipe where you do the same thing with every horse every day in the same order and so on. But we try to teach you the principles so you can teach your horse individually, in a way that suits his specific, needs and circumstances and body type and mental, makeup and so on. So, and we always have a large variety of different breeds and individuals in all of our courses. So because of all the differences, you can't train the horse exactly the same way, like, in a cooking recipe sort of way, but you have to adapt the principles to the individual animal and rider, right? So in that we do that, we show you how to do that. Yeah, so like I said, we look at the horse's breed and conformation, personality, previous training experiences, and then we try to come up with the best training strategy for that individual horse at that moment. And so we want you to work with the horse, of course, and not against the horse. And so there is not just one way, only one way of doing things. There are many different ways of solving problems, and you have to find what works for your horse, right? So we always encourage people to experiment, to try things out, see what happens, right? So that they find the best solution together with the horse, right? So you can try different approaches and essentially ask the horse, so what do you think of that? How does that work? And then you'll find that some approaches work better than others, right? And so you can always, if one possible solution doesn't work, try something else, right? We always have a variety of possible ways of solving a problem so that you don't get stuck, right, with just one thing, one way. Yeah, so, and of course, riders have different learning styles too, and so we try to help you utilize the style that suits you best. So if you're an auditory learner, we have lots of recordings where you can you can listen to them when you're driving in the car, or when you're mucking stalls, or running errands, whatever. So you can absorb that information, while you're doing something that doesn't require a lot of brain power. So, and a lot of people like that. A lot of people listen to the recordings in the car or in the barn doing chores and so on. Or if you're out walking, jogging, hiking, whatever, you can listen to it too. For the visual learners, we have demonstration videos where you can watch the exercise exercises being ridden by other riders with a variety of horses and a variety of mistakes that are being made. So it's very normal riders, normal horses. So and then I've recorded a commentary on those videos, explaining a little bit what's happening, and if a mistake happens, where it comes from, why it happens, what you can do to fix it or to prevent it the next time. Then for analytical learners, of course, we have the breakdown into the what, why, how. That was me. I always needed to know what to do, why to do it, how to do it, and then from there, with that information, I could go figure it out, and then I could develop my field based on the analytical understanding. Yeah. So we break the biomechanics down so that it hopefully makes sense to you and to your horse. And we use biomechanics to work with the horse and with the anatomy of the horse. And then for the kinesthetic learners who need to do it in order to understand it, you get the detailed instructions of what to do. And because that type of learning is also complemented by imagery exercises where you visualize certain things, we include these imagery, mental image lessons that deal basically with the seat that you use in the canter or for whatever purpose, right? So these mental images have helped me, or they sort of came up, for me when I was riding. Sometimes I just see an image when I'm riding, and that's image sort of encapsulates what I'm doing, what the horse is doing, and so on. And so hopefully they will be helpful for you as well. So so Canter biomechanics for intelligent riders. We break the theory down into bite-sized chunks that build on each other every week. So you learn some, implement some, learn more, implement more. So it's this little, small pieces, but it all adds up, and builds on each other. So the theory helps you implement the practical exercises. The practical exercises reinforce the theory and test the theory, so to speak. Then we have this Canter creation gymnastic training method. So several exercises each week to try. They prepare your horse by building the prerequisites for the canter. They prepare the canter transition. They polish the transition. They strengthen the canter once you're in it. And they develop the horse's agility and strength, and eventually develop the counter canter. So it's this whole progression, so that the canter becomes easier for the horse, easier for you to ride, and easier than to shape. That's, ultimately it's not enough to just somehow get the horse into the canter, but once you're in the canter, you want to be able to shape it and to do something with it, right? Like a flying change, or like a pirouette, or like a half pass, and so on. And so with the combination of our exercises and the theoretical background, you learn to do that. So then, there are the step-by-step videos of what, why, how, explanations of our gymnastic exercises. Each exercise comes with that video where I explain exactly what, why, how. And these exercises take you and the horse from, wherever you are at the moment, maybe scary canter or no canter, to having an enjoyable canter, so that you look forward to cantering rather than dreading it. Then the visual learner support, the library of demo riders, and of the writing of the exercises for those who learn best by watching others do it. Often it helps to see someone else do it, and maybe that also clarifies where you need to go in the arena, and you can already see what potential sticky spots are in the exercise where horses might have trouble, and so that might help you write the exercises more effectively. All the exercises are also on PDFs, so you can download them and print them. They're graphics, they're text explanations, and you can print them, take them to the arena, or you load them onto the phone. and take them with you there. Then you can whip out the phone when you're riding and look at it, and it's like, okay, where do I need to go now? How did that go? Or you can have a binder in the barn with exercises and then pick one, look at it before you ride, and then try it out. So you don't forget anything, basically. So that could be a useful thing to do if you haven't memorized the exercises yet. It's good to have a little bit of a reference folder where you can go and look. Then we have worksheets and assignments that help you develop your eye and understanding of the canter. When you have to write something down, right, you learn better, you process it, you have to understand something in order to be able to verbalize it and explain it to others. That's why teaching other people is such an important part of learning yourself, right? Then here, no seat, no canter. Yeah, we have the 10 rider imagery lessons to help you achieve a better seat, to help your horses canter, because of course the canter can either help the horse or it can hinder the horse. The seat can help the horse or hinder the horse, and you can shape the canter with the help of your seat. So these mental images are hopefully helpful in that respect. Next point here, the answers to your questions from me, Shanna, our support team, our assistants. We have a great team of assistants who've been with us for a long time now and who understand the system, the method. They're all teachers and they all are very good riders, so they can really help you well. Here the no questions left behind. There are 3 ways to get your questions answered. We have, the Facebook group. Then we have the Q&A sessions. If you don't like Facebook, you can watch the Q&A sessions on Zoom. And we have the hot seat element now. That's a new feature that we started with the Flying Changes course. That's where we look at your videos together. So you can post a link to a video. I'll share the video in Zoom on the screen, and then I can freeze the frame. I can fast forward, rewind, look at a canter stride, footfall by footfall, to see exactly what's happening, because that often helps when something goes wrong and you freeze the frame and you go in slow motion, one leg touching down at a time. You can see where problems start and where they come from, and then that gives you an idea of what to do to prevent it, right? So that's very popular in our Flying Changes course. Then we have weekly yoga recommendations. Shanna has chosen some yoga videos to help you develop core strength, balance, suppleness, and so on. So that again is something to support the seat. We also have a couple of Feldenkrais lessons. I don't think they're on the list here. Catherine McCrum, our Feldenkrais teacher, is teaching 2 or 3, I think, Feldenkrais lessons in the group, in the course. They're pre-recorded, but they are fantastic for developing your seat, your body awareness, their awareness through motion exercises or lessons. They've had huge success in all of our courses. It's why we started in one course with it, and then we incorporated a number of these lessons in every course, because people love them and they've produced fantastic results. Then you have unlimited access to the course in the Facebook group. So in other words, you won't lose access when the course is over. You can keep it forever. So if something happens, you get sick, horse gets injured, and you have to interrupt the course, no big deal. You don't lose access to it. You can take your time to recover, or the horse can take time to heal, and then you can start over or resume where you left off, even if it's, a few months later. So you can go as slowly as you like, or as slowly as the horse needs. Some horses need more time depending on where the starting point is. So no stress, right? We designed all of our courses so that everybody can go at their own pace. So there's no pressure to get things done in a certain time frame. So, because that usually doesn't work well with horses. Yeah, future upgrades. It's the first time we're including all future upgrades into the course. That means you're automatically invited to take part in all future versions of the course, and you never have to pay an upgrade fee. And if there are new special bonuses, we'll make them available to you either for free or at a reduced fee. Yeah, so here the course consists of 32 weeks, Canter transformation program, then hot seat video coaching program, office hours, so Q&As in each module. Then we have these no rider left behind accountability pods. That's a new feature. Shanna took a course somewhere else about something else, and business coaching, and there were these accountability pods where basically a group of participants are in one pod and they cheer each other on, they help each other out, they exchange ideas and give each other tips and so on. And so Shanna says she's still in touch with those people a year and a half later, and they formed friendships, and they still seek out each other's advice and look at each other's stuff, business stuff. And so she really liked that and thought that was a useful thing. So we're trying this out in this course as well. You also get access to all the archives of all the Canter courses we've done from 2017 to 2019. 31 recordings of Q&A sessions. There are probably all your answers already, all your questions already answered, right? So if you want to listen to those in the car or whatever, you can dive in and hopefully find useful information. And we have the Facebook group. That's the course community. If you want to do that, everything is on Facebook at the moment, but as soon as there is a better, social networking platform, we'll switch. So here we have a little paragraph from one of our course participants. She says, an unbelievable course, totally outstanding. I've learned a phenomenal amount and can see a huge difference in how my horse moves. I was nervous at the start of the course that I would be the numpty of the students, but you can learn, study at your own pace, and Shanna and Thomas were always happy to answer any of my questions. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's always a bandwidth of horses and riders, different levels of expertise, different levels of experience, different challenges with the horses and so on. But everybody gets to do what they need to do so they progress. Right? So, and then we have some bonuses included. We have the rider makeover course in January that helps you improve your seat. We have the introduction to stirrup stepping. The stirrup stepping is also something that is in every one of our courses. And people always want to know more about it. So we put together this self-study course with videos and introductory stepping patterns. That's a good starting point to familiarize yourself with stirrup stepping. Then we have some the Canter recordings, super bundle. We've done some live events, around Canter related topics. So they, maybe go into some aspects of the Canter that are not especially highlighted in the course material itself. So you can listen to those, and that rounds off the picture a little bit. Then we have here, how can Feldenkrais help riders' recordings? That's a good introduction to Feldenkrais if you're not familiar with it. Feldenkrais lessons have been a great tool to improve the rider's seat and feel and awareness. People have reported great progress through the Feldenkrais lessons. Yeah, then we have the Masterclass, 3 Masterclass bundle here with half-hold, stirrup stepping, and full pass. The half-hold is always a topic, right, that is relevant for everybody. You have to apply lots of half-holds when you're riding, right? And it's often not explained well, so people don't really know why they should half-hold or how to half-hold, etc. And in that Masterclass, I explain all that. in great detail. So you become the master of the Halfhold when you study that. Yeah, again, one of the events was on stirrup stepping. So I explained the theory, how it works, what it is, what it does, and there are probably some patterns in there too. And then I did one live session on the full pass, because dressage riders are usually not so familiar with it. Western riders use it, they call it side pass, right? And the working equitation riders use it, they have it in their speed trail. It's a gymnastically useful exercise, and it's not in any dressage test, so people don't ride it and don't know about it. But yeah, so here I explain how you can incorporate it into the training, what it's good for, and so on. Then we have here some Canter seat recordings that was a little bit like the hot seats we're doing now, where people had submitted videos and then we analyze them and explain what's happening and what you can change, how you can improve the seat and how the seat impacts the horse and so on. So that should be interesting to watch as well, to educate your eye and see the cause and effect, so to speak, playing out in front of your eyes. Yeah, so here's the list of course features and bonuses. So it's quite an extensive value, but the price is much lower than the actual value, right? Yeah, so taking the course and enables you to transform the horse's canter and helps you improve your seat, so you develop a nice, balanced, bouncy, soft, round canter. And ultimately, improving the canter quality allows you to ride movements like the pirouette, flying changes, half passes. The improvement in the canter allows you to move up the levels, progress with your horse, and utilize the benefits of the canter for developing the horse, right? So like I had said earlier, a good canter strengthens the belly muscles and improves the back, the top line. It strengthens the hindquarters. It also strengthens the heart and lungs of the horse. Once you're at a stage where you can stay in the canter a little longer. So, and the enrollment price is $747. But let's see here. We have a Christmas coupon code, 40% off. So it's now only 448.20 euros. And we have other currencies and payment plans available. So if you go to ritterdressage.com, you can look at all the details of the course, payment plans, etc., etc. So it's a really good deal for a lot of information. If you think in terms of participating in a weekend clinic, where you get 2 or 3 riding lessons, this is a lot more information and feedback, and for much lower price, right?
And the result is not only a good canter.
That's true.
You can talk about everything else that comes with that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So here is the like Shanna says, the outcome of the course is not just that you're getting a better canter, but of course you improve your understanding of the training, you're learning to analyze, to diagnose, you're learning to come up with solutions. You get a horse that's just nicer to ride in general. So the general balance and suppleness and straightness improve.
More focused, more obedient, more on the aids, straighter, more supple, better balanced, stronger. The gaits get more beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you'll actually find that the canter itself is kind of just the icing on the cake. You get a really nice canter at the end, but you'll actually be really enjoying all the other things as well. I was over here working. You didn't mention that we have a 30-day guarantee.
That's true. I forgot to
a refund period. So because we know if you're new to us, you don't know how this works. You don't know if you're going to like it. You don't know if you can trust us. I get that. We take all the risk for you. So just enroll, and you have 30 days to get involved, try it all out, see if it works for you. If you don't love it, just let us know, and we'll give you your money back. No problem, Rosie. Rosie.
Jumping in my lap. She wants to say hi.
Yeah, because we want you to be happy. We want you to try it out. We understand if you don't know us, if you're new to us, a lot of you here are not. But if you are, you don't know if this is going to work for you. You don't know if you're going to like the way we teach. You don't know if you're going to like the exercises. There's so many unknowns, and I get that. And I want you to try it because I know that it can be life-changing for you. And I want you to experience that. And if you don't love it, then fine. No problem. We give you your money back. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Any good comments here?
Yeah. Then see here. Amber Johnson wants to know if we will run the course in the future because the horse is injured and might not be able to work for a while.
Yeah.
So we'll do it again.
We will probably at the end of next year.
Yeah, something like that.
Because this course runs all the way into August.
Judith Gruber says, "Can't wait. Sounds like a dream." Yeah. It's been producing good results for the participants. They've improved their canter quite a bit.
Judith's in a lot of our courses, so she knows how this stuff works.
Yeah. Elaine says, "So we have access to all those other courses, as in we could also simultaneously participate in the rider makeover." Yeah,
the rider makeover course is included in here. It's a beta course that starts in January, and that's one of the bonuses in here. And so with that, we help you work on improving the 6 most common problems that riders have. A lot of them are seat related. Not everything is seat related, but they're problems that riders tend to make that negatively impact the horse. Especially, this was an accompaniment to our top line makeover course. There are the 6 problems that negatively impact horses' top lines, but of course this affects everything. And I wanted you guys to get this too, so we added it in.
Yeah, everything's connected to everything else, right? So
it's hard to split it all up. I mean, this is a Canter course, but it's really about so much more than the Canter. Even if your Canter's okay, you're going to find that this is going to improve things dramatically. Even if you're like, well, why should I work on the Canter when I have all these other issues to work on too? You're going to find those issues will improve as a result of working through the exercises. It's really just having a plan laid out and applying that plan, and it does wonders.
Yeah. So here, Tresna wants to know if a green horse and rider can join and not get lost. You may have to adapt some of the exercise. I mean, there are some lateral movements involved because they help the horse get into a balance that enables them to canter well. So I don't know exactly how green you are.
Yeah, I mean, different people's definition of green is very different. Some people, that means the horse has been under saddle for a couple of weeks. For another person, it just means the horse isn't doing half passes yet, So it depends on what you mean by green, and it depends on how focused you are on, how intent you are on trying to stay up with the course content. If you're totally at ease with taking it at your own pace and your horse's pace, then it's not going to be a problem, because you know then that you might not do the end of the course for another year or so, and that's okay, because you're going to get the Q&As for every run of the course. You get in the course, you can just do it at your own pace.
Exactly.
Just the hot seats are going to follow the course program, but you can learn. You'll learn by watching the hot seats. When you can't participate in them by submitting video, you'll still learn by watching them, because you'll see the other riders working on their issues with that, and that will help.
You can always adapt each exercise to the level of the horse. You can leave things out and make things easier if your horse can't handle whatever elements are in there, or you can spice it up and make it more complicated. Like if somebody already has a very advanced horse, they could replace a leg yield on the diagonal with a half pass, right?
Or even a diagonal line, change it into a half pass.
Right, exactly. And if your horse can't do the leg yield on the diagonal yet, maybe just ride the diagonal on a single track. And, so there are always ways in which you can adapt it, and we can help you with that too. If you don't know how, we and our assistants, we can tell you, try this instead, or, modify the exercise by doing this, and then, usually you can adapt it from a very low level to a very high level, the same basic pattern, same basic line, but you can make it so that every level of horse gets something out of it. So it's a bit of a challenge, but it's doable. That's always the idea. The exercises should be challenging for horse and rider, but not overwhelming, so that both horse and rider learn something, right? So Tristan says, we've been riding for 3 years, everything else is okay, but Canter's awful. Okay.
Then it actually sounds like this is exactly what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Could be just the right time.
Yeah. Again, you still might need to take things a little slower, but that's okay, right? As long as you go into it knowing, and you don't get anxious about going at a slower pace. We have we take 2 weeks for every module of the course once we're into the main body of the course, and for most people that's enough to do the exercises, but for some people they need to take it slower, and that's then what you do. Your priority is to do what's right for your horse, and we support that.
Exactly. And Elaine says, you'll be blown away with the amount of content, the delivery, the accessibility of these 2 gems of instructors and people. Oh, thank you.
We over-deliver. It's actually not even a good thing.
No, sometimes
we over-deliver.
No. Elaine says, you will not be the same rider trainer again.
No, you
Signed
won't.
a rider addict.
Even if you do just only half of the stuff. If you only even dabble in the course, you will be the same rider. It will change you.
Yeah, it changes the way you look at things and the way you think, and it gives you a much bigger toolbox. So, and Jennifer Morris says, I have a fat, old, now only positive reinforcement horse who sometimes is too off, too sore to ride in good conscience. We always get a lot of benefit from the courses. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Yeah, that's very sweet. Yeah, well, we always try to work with the horse and try to find, ways of, giving horse and rider something that they can do. If the horse can't handle certain aspects of an exercise, well, we'll try to do something else. By the way, we also always have people who do the courses mostly on the ground with work in hand, long reining, lunging, something like that. You can adapt the exercises usually to work in hand or long reining too. With long reining, you may have to run a little bit, depending on how big the horse is.
You'll get fit.
but there's always a couple of people who do it mostly on the ground, and they get benefit from it, and the horses get benefit.
We always help people where they are and where their horse is, rather than trying to squeeze the horse and rider into a box that doesn't fit. So,
any other questions?
So, you can enroll at ritterdressage.com. That goes straight to the sales page on this, and your coupon code is Christmas 2020, all caps, one word. Did you? I mean, it was on the presentation, but maybe you should write it in there too for them, just to be sure. And that coupon will be good until the course starts on next Monday, the 28th.
2020, right? That's the...
Yeah, Christmas 2020. Yeah, good. Yep. That coupon code will give you 40% off of price. Yeah, but that coupon expires when the course starts on Monday, December 28th.
So Living the Snook says, I'm only doing groundwork with this 27-year-old. Probably better to sign up for the long reining course.
Oh, wow.
But the top line makeover would be good for that horse, because there's lunging, double lunging, work in hand, and long reining in there, and that's perfect for the older horses to keep them fit. So
the store, the Kajabi store. Let me find the link.
So Elaine wants to know, how long is the coupon code for?
Until the 28th.
28th.
Oh, Rosie, stop.
Oh,
my computer won't turn on.
Nope. Focus is registered already on the what, why, how deal. Very good.
Okay.
So Chen is trying to look up the top line makeover.
No.
So I mean, that's underway already, right? But it's a beta course, so we still have a ways to go. We still have to film more for the top line makeover course because it's been raining so much here that we haven't been able to do anything.
The course was actually supposed to have finished or almost finished by now, but it's not even halfway through yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's going at a slower pace.
Yeah, it's moving at a slower pace. And actually,
it says on the sales page.
Yeah, the people are happy that they have more time. Yeah, we needed more time to produce more videos because it's been raining like crazy here for weeks now. So we haven't been able to film in a while. So I still have to catch up on that. And yeah. So
yeah, I want to add the link to the store, but I'm just you need to just stay there because I can't get on.
Okay. Oh, Frauke Jürgensen says May's new bridle is already making a huge difference, but you have a long way to go with the Canter. This course, I think, comes at the right time. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, yeah. Oh, good. Jennifer Morris says, goodbye. See you in the course. Yay. Yeah, we'll see you there. And yeah. But yeah, Frauke's horse will improve the Canter with the exercises. And we start out with these preliminary exercises, the pre-Canter exercises that improve the horse's overall balance and suppleness in the walk and the trot. And that gets them to the point where the Canter depart becomes easier. And yeah, then, from there we go into preparing the transition into the Canter, and then we talk about up transitions, down transitions, how to decide when does it make sense to canter, or when you're in the Canter, at what point do I need to bring the horse back to the walk or trot if something deteriorates, right? Sometimes because there's a point of no return where you can't fix it in the Canter, you have to go back down to the walk or the trot, prepare again, start over, And and at the end we have modules where we talk about how to shape the Canter with your seat and aids, and then we have the counter Canter exercises at the end. Good. Paula Dawkins says, thank you so much. The session was really great. Shauna Kilkenny says, thanks, you two. Have a nice evening. Yeah, I think Shauna, are you getting there? Because people, I think, want to go home.
Well,
but Shanna's still
I want to get the link for the store, but I'm
yeah. So Shanna's trying to find the link.
The description, because that's the only place we can put the link.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
So it's in there right now.
Yeah. So here in the chat box, YouTube doesn't allow us to put links.
Yeah, but it's in the.
But it's now in the description
so
of the video.
Reload the video.
Yeah. So if you reload the page, you should see that link. So Frauke says also heading off. See you in the course.
See you in the course.
Yes. See you in the course. Very good. It's exciting. We're looking forward to seeing you all. So Shanna, is that all?
Yes.
Okay, because then we can officially say goodbye. Thanks for watching and staying here. And yeah, we will see you maybe in the course or maybe some other time when we do some other free stuff, which we'll do again too. Someday we'll do a challenge again like we used to.
There's one more webinar tomorrow.
And tomorrow is another webinar. Yeah, exactly. Well,
but they don't be the same.
It's same content, so you don't really need to watch it again. Unless you want to, exactly. So yeah, thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.